All right, welcome in, everyone. Today we're taking a deep dive into Proverbs 20.
Proverbs 20.
Which is just like packed with wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Really about how to live a good life, a life of integrity.
Life of integrity, yeah.
How to deal with challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And it does it in this really cool, almost poetic way. You know?
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So concise, but so profound.
Yeah, each one is like a little nugget.
A nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, you can just kind of like unpack.
Exactly.
We're going to unpack a lot of them today.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about things like the dangers of gossip, of making hasty promises.
Oh, yeah.
The importance of honesty and seeking advice.
Right.
So much good stuff in here.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover.
Yeah, let's start by diving into what Proverbs 20 has to say about, just human nature, like the things that make us tick. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, it doesn't shy away from that, does it?
No, it gets right in there.
Right from the beginning, verse 1, it talks about wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler.
Oh, yeah.
And whoever is led astray by them is not wise.
Right. It's like almost right away.
Immediately. Yeah.
It's talking about, being careful about what you put into your body, how you manage your impulses.
Absolutely. And I think that theme of self-control, of mastering your impulses, really runs throughout the chapter.
Yeah, it's like this constant tension between, wanting something right now, instant gratification, and then knowing that if you wait, if you exercise a little restraint, the payoff is going to be bigger.
Right. It's that delayed gratification. It's like
Yeah.
we're wired for that quick fix, but Proverbs is reminding us to take the long view.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of impulses, verse 2, it talks about the wrath of a king is like the roaring of a lion.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever provokes him to anger forfeits his life.
That's a powerful image.
Isn't it?
A roaring lion that just like viscerally.
Yeah.
Like makes you realize, anger is not something to be trifled with.
Right. It's destructive.
It's like this force,
Yeah.
I can't control. And then it kind of flips it, right? Like in verse 3 says, it's an honor for a man to cease from strife, but every fool will be meddling.
That's such a great contrast, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not weakness to walk away from conflict.
No, it's wisdom.
It's wisdom, it's strength,
Yeah.
it's knowing which battles are worth fighting and which ones are just going to drag you down.
Yeah, and I think that's so relevant, especially today when it feels like everyone's just like looking for a fight online.
Especially.
It's just like constant bickering and negativity.
It's so easy to get sucked into that, isn't it?
Oh, so easy. And Proverbs is like, hey, step back for a second.
Yeah.
Think about, is this really worth my energy?
Take a breath.
Yeah, take a breath.
Is this going to make a positive difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Proverbs 20, it doesn't just focus on like our inner lives and our emotions.
Right.
It also has a lot to say about work, about wealth, about, our relationship with stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting how it connects those things,
Yeah.
like our inner world and how that manifests in the way we work and the way we handle money.
Yeah.
Verse 4, for example.
Okay.
The sluggard does not plow in the autumn. He
Hmm.
will seek at harvest and have nothing. So it's talking about planning ahead, being diligent, putting in the work.
It's like the classic, the ant and the grasshopper.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Like being prepared.
Being prepared.
Thinking about the future, not just living for the moment.
Yeah, and I think for me, that verse always makes me think about procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
Like that temptation to put things off, to kind of, coast through life.
Yeah. The snooze button.
Oh, yeah, the snooze button.
The enemy of progress.
Exactly. But Proverbs is reminding us that real success, it takes discipline.
Yeah.
It takes planning. It takes a willingness to delay gratification, to work now for something that might not pay off for a while.
Right. And it's not just about like, slaving away all the time.
Right.
Right. Like verse 13 actually talks about sleep is the sleep of a laborer, whether he eats little or much.
But the full stomach of the rich will not let him sleep.
Right. So it's acknowledging the importance of rest.
Yes.
Of enjoying the fruits of your labor.
Absolutely.
Of not getting so caught up in, accumulating wealth and stuff.
Yeah, it's that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Between work and rest, between having enough and being consumed by the pursuit of more.
Mm-hmm.
And that ties into the verses about being careful about how we acquire wealth.
Right.
Like verse 14 talks about bad is the buyer saying. But when he goes his way, then he boasts.
Right. It's like that feeling of like, oh, I got such a good deal.
Yeah.
But it's at someone else's expense.
Right, like maybe you haggled them down to a price that was really
Yeah.
unfair, or you took advantage of someone's desperation.
Mm,
And, verse 17 warns against that too.
right.
Bread gained by deceit is sweet to a man,
Mm.
but afterward his mouth will be full of gravel.
Ooh, that's a vivid image.
Isn't it? Like that initial satisfaction, that sweetness,
Yeah.
but it turns sour quickly.
Yeah, it's like eating something that looks really delicious, but then you bite into it and it's like, ew, there's something's not right.
Totally. And then, to contrast that, verse 15 just beautifully highlights the true treasure.
Okay.
Gold there is and rubies in abundance.
Okay.
But the lips that speak knowledge are a precious jewel.
Right. So it's elevating wisdom
Yes.
above material possession,
Above material wealth.
above, all the things that we often chase after.
Yeah, it's saying, look, knowledge, understanding, discernment, that's where the real value lies.
Hmm.
That's the precious jewel.
Yeah.
And, that focus on wise choices, on making good decisions.
Yeah.
That kind of leads us into the next big theme in Proverbs 20,
Okay.
which is relationships.
Relationships, always a rich topic, right?
Oh, for sure. Full of joy and challenges and everything in between.
Yeah.
And, Proverbs 20, it doesn't sugarcoat it, does it?
No, it gets right in there.
It does. Like verse 6.
Okay.
Many a man proclaims his own steadfast love,
Hmm.
but a faithful man who can find.
So it's acknowledging that, like, true friends, people who are really there for you,
Right.
they're not a dime a dozen.
No.
Like they're precious.
They're rare. They're like gold,
Yeah.
You have to cherish them.
Absolutely. And even within those close relationships, Proverbs 20 reminds us to be mindful of our words.
Yes. So important.
Right.
Yeah. And like verse 19,
Okay.
whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets.
Hmm.
Therefore, do not associate with a simple babbler.
So it's warning against gossip.
Right. It's that classic, great minds discuss ideas, small minds discuss people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, are you building people up or are you tearing them down?
Right. Are you contributing to the negativity or are you trying to create something positive?
Yeah. And gossip it's so insidious,
Yeah, it spreads like wildfire.
It really does. It's tempting to get caught up in it, but Proverbs is like, hey, walk away.
Yeah.
Don't be a part of that.
Choose your words carefully.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, speaking of choosing carefully, verse 11 talks about even a child makes himself known by his acts, by whether his conduct is pure and upright.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not just about what you say.
No.
It's about what you do.
It's about how you live.
Yeah.
It's about the choices you make day in and day out.
Yeah. And that really ties into this next theme of justice and accountability.
Yeah, because integrity isn't just a personal thing, is it?
No.
It has implications for how we treat each other, for how we function as a society.
Right. It's like our individual choices are all connected to this larger kind of moral fabric.
And that's where I think Proverbs 20 gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's not just offering personal advice, it's connecting our individual choices to this bigger idea of divine justice.
Right.
Like verse 8, it says, a king who sits on the throne of judgment winnows all evil with his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's saying, look, there's a higher authority watching. And
Yeah.
there's a standard of justice that goes beyond our human systems.
Mm-hmm.
And verse 10 talks about unequal weights and unequal measures are both alike an abomination to the Lord.
Right.
So it's condemning dishonesty. It's
Yeah.
condemning double standards. It's saying that God sees through all of that.
Yeah. It's like you can't game the system,
Right.
You can't get away with things just because you think you're clever or powerful.
Yeah. Ultimately, we're all accountable
Yeah.
to a higher power.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It is.
It makes you think twice about the choices you make, about how you treat others.
Yeah, definitely. And then, in a more practical sense, we have verse 18.
Okay.
Plans are established by counsel.
Mm-hmm.
By wise guidance, wage war.
So important.
Yeah. So it's basically saying, like, don't go it alone.
Right. Seek advice.
Seek advice.
Especially when you're facing a big decision or a challenging situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so caught up in our own heads
Oh, absolutely.
that we can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
And we need that outside perspective,
Yeah.
that wise friend, that mentor,
Yeah.
to help us see things more clearly.
And sometimes the best advice is like, just wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't rush into anything.
Don't make a hasty decision, like in verse 25.
Okay.
It is a snare, to say it rashly. It is holy,
Mm-hmm.
and to reflect only after making vows.
Right. So it's about like thinking before you speak,
Yes.
about not making promises you can't keep.
Right. We've all been there, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
Where we get caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
And we say, yes, I can totally do that.
No problem.
No problem at all. And then reality sets in.
Yeah. What was I thinking?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Proverbs is reminding us to pause,
Yeah.
to reflect,
Mm-hmm.
to seek guidance before making commitments that we might regret.
Absolutely. And sometimes that guidance means like letting go of control a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Like acknowledging that we don't have all the answers.
And that can be hard, can't it?
It is.
But verse 24, it puts it so beautifully.
Okay.
A man's steps are from the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
How then can man understand his way?
Mm.
So it's this invitation to trust,
Yeah.
even when we don't understand everything.
Even when the path ahead is unclear.
Yeah, to have faith that there's a bigger plan unfolding.
Yeah. It's a very comforting thought, I think, especially in times of uncertainty.
Absolutely.
You know, when you're like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, speaking of moving forward, Proverbs 20 ends with this beautiful reflection on the different stages of life.
Yeah, verse 29.
Okay.
The glory of young men is their strength,
Mm.
but the splendor of old men is their gray hair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's honoring both.
Yeah.
The energy and the vigor of youth,
Yeah.
but also the wisdom and the experience of age.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a reminder that life is a journey.
Yeah.
And each stage has its own unique beauty and its own unique contribution to make.
Yeah, that's a great point. So as we kind of like come to the end of our deep dive into Proverbs 20,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that really stood out to you? Like, what are some of the nuggets of wisdom that you're going to be taking away from this chapter?
I think for me, it's that emphasis on interconnectedness, the idea that our choices don't just affect us.
Yeah.
They ripple outward.
Right.
They impact our relationships. They impact our communities.
Right.
They even impact our spiritual well-being.
Yeah, and it's almost like this web, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all connected in this intricate web of relationships, and our actions, they kind of like send out these vibrations
Right.
that affect the whole
web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully put.
And, I think Proverbs often, they raise as many questions as they answer.
Mm-hmm.
They get us thinking.
They do.
So I'm curious, like, what question does this chapter leave you with? Like, what's something that you're going to kind of chew on? That's a good question.
Yeah. Or if you could pick one proverb, one verse, from this chapter to kind of like be your guiding principle for the week, what would it be?
I think I'd have to go back and really look at them all again.
Yeah. So much good stuff in there.
It's rich. Yeah. So I encourage our listeners to do the same, Spend some time with Proverbs 20.
Yeah.
See what speaks to you. See what questions it raises.
Yeah.
See how it can guide you in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep exploring the book of Proverbs. There's so much wisdom in there.
Timeless wisdom.
Timeless wisdom, and it's still relevant today.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Until next time.
All right, take care.
Take care.